Hey everyone, welcome to the Energy Independent Show where we talk about solar energy technology on the regular and with the professionals and the leaders in this revolution. We have a multi-talented solar guru. He's famed. Our guest today from a leading solar manufacturer, REC. Welcome to the show, George McClellan.
Les, thank you very much for having me here. I really appreciate it. It's always nice to end up talking with the crowd.
Yes, absolutely. Well, in times of safe distancing, we appreciate you getting on here on the show.
Very much so.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you chose the solar industry?
Sure, absolutely. So I started out in solar energy in about 2005. And if you think about the solar energy industry in 2005, you really didn't have much to pick from. There wasn't like a big crowd of assets to choose from when you're starting a solar company. So I started with a solar startup company in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was recruited. I was basically pulled out of there by some friends of mine who had left. They're friends from Sandia Labs and Intel Corporation. And we went out. They had started working with a company called Advent Solar in Albuquerque. It's a startup that spun out of Sandia Labs. Pretty fun. And we got that, started working with them. Started out as program manager, product manager, moved into manufacturing as director of manufacturing by the time I left. It was really a lot of fun because it was a startup, and with any type of startup, you're going to be wearing a lot of hats, and that's something I like to do. I've got a pretty broad experience range. So we had able to work. My daughter had gone off to college. If I wanted to work 18 hours a day, I could, and I certainly did plenty of times. Worked out pretty good, learned a lot, did some great stuff, launched some great products. It didn't work out all the time, so that Advent got bought by Applied Materials, and I moved over to REC Group in 2009. In March of 2009, I've been here ever since. It's a very rewarding job. Really like the things that I'm doing here. It's a great product. But one of the real reasons I'm here is that there's a real benefit to being in solar energy. There's true altruism here. We're doing good stuff for the planet, not just going out and cashing checks. So it's pretty easy to get up in the morning and go to work.
Absolutely.
And especially when work is so close. So I get up in the morning and I walk down the hall to my office.
Yeah, it's a little different of a time. And
yes.
It's so weird today. Speaking of the altruism, customer was altruistic today. That's their third solar project. We'll actually be using REC solar panels on this after we used SunPower in the second round and Schuko panels in the first round. So we've kind of seen a lot of advancement over time, and REC is a great panel. But he gave me, his wife and her gave us some toilet paper because I said that we were there was nothing on the shelf before I went there. So my wife said, "Hey, if you're going to go on an appointment and get out of here and meet with a client, can you get some toilet paper?" So I told them about it, and they were very altruistic back. So very rewarding career in many ways. And speaking of career and the company you work for, can you tell us about REC and what your role is there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I came on as a project manager for REC in 2009. I was their second U.S. hire, which was pretty cool. We were spinning up the organization, so I was hired to be come in and be the technical guy. So it's kind of fun. Again, initiation by fire. You drink from a fire hose. Meeting a lot of people. Putting out a lot of fires. It was really a lot of fun. I am what's called the technical sales manager. So dealing with the easy way to describe it is if it has to do with pricing and availability, it's not my problem.
Nah.
If it has to do with anything else, it is my problem. So pricing and availability, that's the sales team. We got people that do that very well. But so I work a lot with educating, training, doing presentations, developing presentation content. I'm the warranty claims department in the United States, and I'm not very busy.
Your job must not be very busy on that then, at least.
No, not very busy on the warranty claims side, which is pretty nice. But yeah, we do a lot of training. I do a NABCEP. I teach a couple of NABCEP classes. And so it's just basically helping Information brokering is probably what I do the most of.
Mm. Well, that's great. Yeah, it's very impressive what REC is doing. To know you've been there that long might explain maybe it's part of their success. So appreciate you being on the show. So speaking of REC, how is REC able to keep flow of advanced solar panels going in these times?
So that's a really good question. So with most manufacturers right now, everyone's working on so it's basically supply chain disruption that you have problems with. And then you've got labor issues. It was interesting. Just about everybody in the industry is working as close to JIT as you can, with JIT being just in time inventory, or as my sister used to call it, just too late. But everyone's at JIT, and so they keep a buffer stock around. And so how much cash do you want to put into your buffer stock? And we had about 2 months in Singapore, so we got a pretty good buffer stock. So we're able to keep the supply rolling. The supply chain definitely stopped because so good part is we're vertically integrated. So we do everything there at our factory in Singapore. So we don't have to depend on external supply for wafers and silicon and things like that. So we've got a lot of the big chunks taken care of, but all of the other balance of system or the other bill of material is all coming from other areas, typically from China. So that got chopped off pretty quick. Things have started flowing back. So things like your frames, your back sheets, junction boxes, all of that started flowing again. So we've got that coming in. We didn't have any work stoppage from that. One of the biggest problems was workers. I mean, the country went on lockdown. So Singapore got hit pretty hard. It's a small country and it's densely populated. We have a fair amount of our technicians live. So we're right at the end of the island. Singapore is a big island. Right at the end of the island is the bridge to Malaysia. A lot of the workers a lot of the technicians come from Malaysia. A lot of the operators are Malaysian. And one day they just closed the bridge, said, sorry.
Wow.
So it was a zero-sum game, though. If you were there, you weren't going home. Nobody could get in, but no one could get out. So we had a workforce, but now we had to take this one shift. Where do we house them? They can't go anywhere. So it was an interesting little adventure trying to get that taken care of. So we're running on a small crew. We're definitely not running at full speed, but we are still able to put our product out. The other good part about we are a fully automated site. Right. You don't need a whole lot of assets to run some of these sites. So it's not like manual assembly or anything like that where you need a whole lot of hands-on. So we've weathered it pretty good. But the real key, first things first, you got to keep a healthy workforce. So, it was interesting to see some of the things that were taking place there because people were actually going to the site and working. But if you had a meeting, like managers' meetings, they'd all be on site, but they'd be in different rooms to make sure nobody infected anyone else. So, but yeah, we're starting to ramp back up. But Singapore got hit pretty hard. We are getting some modules out. Again, we had modules on the water before all this happened. So we've got lots, it's a 5-week transfer time from Singapore to United States. So a lot of these modules were on the boat already on the way over. So we're still able to feed the market. We've got some buffer stock in our warehouses here in the United States. So we're able to meet demand. And good part is it slowed down, but it hasn't stopped. So we're not having a horrible Q2.
Right. Well, it sounds like you have a hybrid manufacturing process where you have just in time, but also with that buffer on there. Yes. Being vertically integrated, it gives you the flexibility to make the changes you need in the time that you have that buffer stock available, which is great to see. So on the quality front, on question number 4, how important is quality in manufacturing to REC? I'm glad you asked that question because quality is really the number one thing at REC. It's really one of the things we focus on. Quality is an interesting beast. You can focus on it up front,
So product quality, you can focus on it up front and pay the price for it up front, or you can pay for it in the end with having your modules fail in the field. REC, but REC prefers to do this up front, and we have a very high focus on that, all the way down to our every level of manufacturing, product development. All of that is very, very controlled, very process driven. It's one of the things that we do very well in Singapore is that we got some very good, they do very, very good nuts and bolts manufacturing engineering. It's just turn the crank. They're not looking for big jumps. It's just turn the crank, bit by bit product improvement. So that's the real key to REC is we do have a very high quality product. You have to build the quality into your product. You can't test it in. You can't just keep, we'll test it and it'll get better and better. You have to build the product. You get your feedback. It's that whole information turn cycle where you're doing product improvement based on feedback from the field, feedback from manufacturing. And so that's worked out very well for us. We have a very high quality product. Again, you have to pay for that one way or the other. We pay for it up front. So yes, our product is not, it's not the price of some of the tier 2 or tier 3 products out there. That's because we have to put this money into the product to make sure it is a good, high quality, reliable product. And again, if you ask anyone out there, the proof is there in the field.
Absolutely.
Modules just don't break.
Yeah, I think it takes leadership for a good product and a good process for a good product to happen. I think REC certainly has it. One of the questions, question number 5 is, can you tell us about module lifetime and how REC leads there?
Module lifetime is pretty interesting. So we get asked the question. So our modules are warranted for 25 years. That's pretty much the industry standard right now. I know that some manufacturers are actually pushing their warranties out to 30 years, which is fine. I mean, I don't plan on being in this business. They're fail according to the bathtub curve failure model. So the very short, the very early, you have your infant mortality, very early years. First 18 months, you've got a high failure rate, a relatively high failure rate. The next couple of years, that goes down to a very, very low, steady failure rate. And then it goes for X amount of time. And then you have your what's called wear out failure. So it looks like the curve looks like a bathtub. We know what happens in infant mortality. We know the early failure rates. We know, your bypass diodes, your bad solder joints, things like that are all going to be sorted out very early. So that's your infant mortality. You've got your slow wear out failures, and that'll be, just minor little things that are happening over the lifetime of the module. So that's year, 2 through whatever, 25-ish. We don't know what that X is. We don't know what that time period is. But then the end of life, you're going to see what's called wear out failures. So your glass will get etched, glass will get cloudy. Your connections will end up becoming corroded. The EVA will get cloudy, things like that. So, but the cool thing is that the device, the semiconductor device, the silicon semiconductor device, that's never going to go bad. It's a solid state device. It's good to go. It's the packaging that goes bad around it. So your glass, your back sheet, your EVA, all of that. So that will all start to fail. But I haven't really answered the question is, how long is this going to last? We don't really know. So there's modules that have been out there, 30 years and are still performing well. We all know there's modules out there that have, been 3 years in the field have failed. So we as an industry have made great strides. The solar industry has made great strides with respect to process improvements and bill of materials improvements that are making a very, very reliable module. You take that and you couple that with some of the things like REC is doing with the back support bars along the back side of the module, which makes a stronger, stiffer package, which is very important when you're working with mono cells. That's going to give you a more of a longer lifetime. REC has also moved on their HJT, which I think we'll talk about later, their heterojunction technology cells. they have what's called smart wire technology, which provides an extra layer of protection on the front side and back side of the cells. Again, giving you a degradation rate of 0.25% annually. It's crazy. At the end of 25 years, you're at 92.3% of the production on day one. I mean, that's just crazy. 25 years.
Right.
So
it's really amazing. And that's I think part of the impressive, one of the impressive things about REC is that you guys have got that number down so low. And can you tell us where people can find REC, more information about you guys and in yourself?
So yeah, absolutely. So REC is in, we've got a couple of distributors across the United States. We have the easiest way to do it is go to recgroup.com, go to our website, and there's a link there that says, how do I buy REC? That will link you up with our REC certified solar professionals. And those are the people that have been trained actually by us, mostly by me. It was a tough year last year going around teaching all those classes. But it's a lot of fun because you get to go out and meet the peoples. We are at, we're at a couple of distributors. I believe CED Green Tech has our modules. But the easiest way is to go to recgroup.com and look for an installer in your area. Absolutely. And you can always, not, just contact us, send me an email and I'll tell you who it is for your area. Right. Yeah, and for this area, for California, for Kern County, you can contact Energy Independence Group. If you're listening, thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to learn about energy, maybe you are inquiring into solar, or maybe you're aspiring for a career in solar, we welcome you here, and we encourage you to like the page at facebook.com/EIG Solar. And so number 6 on question number 6, George, is what assumptions are dangerous for consumers to make about manufacturers and installers? That's a great question. So there's two pieces to that. One, manufacturing, for a while, people were thinking that, it's a blue rectangle. They're all the same. Let's throw them up on the roof and get moving. Just give me something good and cheap. When there was the invasion of the overseas product in the 2012 timeframe, there's some drastic drops in prices, and that wasn't all done on economies of scale. There's some questionable processes and bill of materials being used, but everyone said nope, they're certified. Let's go install them. A lot of people got burned by that 5 or 6 years later when those panels started failing in the field at a very high rate. So it's very, very important to understand the manufacturer you're getting in bed with if they do have a proven track record of having high quality products. And they need to be able to prove that. There's a lot of different ways to prove that. And a good distributor or installer is going to do their research because it's removing their headaches as well. So we really stand behind that, but that's something that's very key. The other piece of that is not just the materials that's being installed, it's the installers themselves. There is a very high growth rate in installers right now across the United States. Just like the invasion of foreign panels, we see an invasion of solar installers. Yeah, exactly. Everybody said, hey, this is pretty cool. You mean I can do this? Yeah, they're not that hard. It's just, so you get a lot of roofers. They come and they go. So, but yeah. So you get a lot of contractors that, can do this. It's not technically difficult to do. It's very easy to understand. It's a DC circuit. It's pretty easy. Throw it up on the roof. However, there's a lot of nuances into that. You have to think about this. This is going to be a system that's in place for 25 years. So you have to be careful with what is happening with the product as it's being installed. REC works very, very hard to get that product to you in good shape. And then if it's damaged in the last 100 yards, all of that work we've done is gone out the window. So understanding if installers have been through training programs with either with the company they're working with or with another, or with NABCEP or any of those certification programs, understanding how to treat a solar module during installation. Once the module's up there, it's going to be fine. But it's the getting it from the ground, getting it from the warehouse into the truck, out of the truck, up on the rooftop, and mounted without damaging it can be a real. And then making sure the installation's good. The AHJs out there are often they're doing us a lot of favors. A lot of the AHJs out there are getting very, very focused on installation technique, and that's helping us out immensely. You know, no dragging wires and making sure things are, you know, in the right zones and stuff, which is fantastic. They're doing a great job, but the AHJ shouldn't be the one catching that. The install needs to be done in accordance with. That's the other piece. Is a lot of the installers. You have to make sure that they read the installation manual for your product.
Wow.
A lot of times that doesn't happen, and I'll get an AHJ or an installer calling me up and say, "Hey, I did this. Is this okay?" I'm like, "Well, no, it's in the install guide. No, it's not okay." You know, like, well, can we get a waiver on that? Like, there's a reason that we say don't do this.
I needed to read the instructions.
Yeah. It's just, you know, it's the old, you know, RTFM. But, you know, things like clamping zones, don't walk on the panels because you'll generate micro cracks in them. Cable management is a big one. If you think about cable management, you've got to have your cables run correctly because, again, they'll be up there for 25 years. You don't want them, you know, having a problem, you know, failing prematurely. Yeah. So it's just pay attention to see, you know, find a track record of who you're working with. And I'm not saying that new installers are going to have a problem, but just make sure you know who you're getting in bed with.
Right. Absolutely. I think quality is very important, not just in manufacturing, but our clients have come back to us year after year, and we rely on referrals. But the main thing is quality of the equipment, number one, and quality of the installation. And when you install solar, you want it to look good. And sometimes you need it to be custom. And that's where we come in. And that's why we use REC and other really reliable, tested, leading technologies. So on question number 7, you have a saying. What is your saying? We are running out of home runs. Yeah.
We don't have too many more. We aren't going to hit too many more home runs with respect to power. So we have this lust as an industry. We want more power, more watts peak at STC. Got to have it. I started the industry. We were making 125. I think we've talked about this before. I was making 125 watt modules, right? And we were on cloud 9 when we started getting 135s out. We were just like, yeah, we're going to rule the world. However, and we've made some wonderful gains throughout the industry. So SunPower, is famous for hitting home runs. They did some great stuff. They were just crushing it. But we're running out of headspace with respect to the technology. So there's not too many big gains that we're going to grab anymore. It's all going to be small gains, incremental growth. With silicon technology. Any changes now, yes, we can get more efficient and things like that. But we've made a lot of real wins with like moving to monosilicon. That was boom, a couple of watt class jumps. We were jumping 2 or 3 watt classes every year, just on the same platform, just doing process improvements. Not seeing that much anymore. The move to mono, move to interdigitated back contact, move to half cut cells, move to PERC, things like that. Not much left. Lots of customers are looking for this. It's interesting because everybody need more power, but don't change anything and bring the price down. Right. And, it's that old fast, easy, cheap, pick 2. But so we're kind of reaching a plateau. And the interesting piece of this is that I kind of liken this to the computer industry. If you remember back in the early days of, back in the days of the $5,000 computer and things like that, $5,000 desktop.
You got to get you got a magazine in the mail with all these crazy prices.
Yeah. Everything was about clock speed, 750 megahertz, 850 megahertz, 400 megahertz, that type of thing. It's about clock speed. And then, and I remember I worked at Intel at the time. I remember having discussions with my friends going, yep, we're not going to get much faster. And then boom, here we go, 1.4 gigahertz, then next. But then at some point, people stop paying attention to that. And there's other features that become more important. Yeah. So I think that there's going to be some things that become more important than watts peak at STC. I think things are going to pay more attention to energy yield, kilowatt hour per kilowatt peak, things like that are going to become more important.
For our market, if you're listening here in Kern County, heat tolerance, and you guys lead there. And also, I have a little background here. I used to do nothing but SunPower, and they were the leader for a while. And I had SunPower on my previous home, a 327 watt panel in 2011, 2012. It's only the major improvement now. You guys are at 380. I'm using a 370 alpha panel on my property here, 30 of them. And so I'm getting a substantially larger solar system than I was, but not that much larger than the SunPower 327. Which I loved. And but right now, the standard, I think, at least what I've chosen, is the value prop that Alpha provides from REC. And I think more is important than just the yield, like you indicated. Also, vertical integration, the warranty and the service, and the record and the people that are at your company. So again, I appreciate your guys' being here and everything you're doing. So on question number 8, can you tell us about the state-of-the-art facility where the Alphas are made?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of our flagships. So I've got to hand it to our CEO, who a couple of years ago talked to our board of directors into giving us about $150 million to build this process-specific site to build the Alpha product. So the Alpha is a HJT technology built within an integrated tool set. It's called Industry 4.0 is what it's called, the protocols that are being used. And what Industry 4.0 is, it's about the interconnectivity of all the tools in the production line. You've got autonomous robots doing loading, advanced sensors they're keeping an eye on things. So you're gathering a bunch of information all across your line, from the beginning of the line all the way to putting things on the pallet and actually out on the field. So this is the integration of big data and artificial intelligence. You have your machines are, they're all talking to each other. So they're doing automated process control. So if you're getting halfway down the line, the machine sees that something is drifting out. It'll send a note up to the beginning of the line saying, hey, calibrate your pockle thickness or something like that. Check that. Instead of waiting for a PM or waiting for an engineer to come out and review the data, say, oh, our pockle is low, we need to, go adjust this. So it's doing these things all on the fly. It's all doing, and it's doing learning as it's happening, giving us a much higher quality product. You're getting product improvements, and you're getting the highest quality out there. Really, and you had integrated fault detection. It's pretty neat. But the robots are a lot of fun. They're moving between the equipment. One of our new salesmen went down there to do some training, and he actually went to that site. He was standing there talking with someone in a robot. He felt something behind him. You can sense something. He turned around, and he'd been standing in the path of the robot. He just looked down and see who's on the path. But the robot just comes up, hey, and we'll wait until you're out of the way.
Patiently. Was it at a 6-foot distance?
It wasn't. This was a couple of months ago, so the social distancing
didn't cough on him though.
Yeah,
so he was all right.
But it was. But yeah, so it's an amazing site, and it is really it's the confluence of big data, artificial intelligence, automated machine learning. It's really this coming to be a great product. The good part is that it came out of the box, exactly the way we thought it was going to be. Watt classes were high, defect rates were very low. I mean, you tune it in and just let it run. We're really excited about that.
So the proof is in the pudding, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I agree. I can't explain the excitement I got. It reminded me of when I got my SunPower panels, how it made me feel. This time, I think I was doubly excited. Maybe it's an addiction to getting solar on my property. It's very fun. Energy independence is fun. So question number 9 is the future is here in solar technology, but what trends and developments do you see for the future?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So I touched on this earlier that we're kind of out of the home run. So we may be looking at some things a little bit differently. So what I see, there's two things that are going to change, or the biggest advances we made in two things. One is going to be cell architecture, and then one is going to be module technology. So cell architecture, you're going to see things like so PERC, PERT, TOPCon. A lot of that is already happening. I mean, it's all over the place. So we'll start moving into things, interdigitated back contact, like that SunPower pioneered.
Right.
HJT, like Sanyo, Panasonic, and then what REC is doing. I think some of those things are going to be more popular. Tandem jump, that will probably change. There's been a big push by a couple of manufacturers to move to a lot bigger. I believe with the Canadian Solar just introduced the Apex, which is 210 millimeter cell.
Wow.
So you're going to see larger cells, which is kind of playing. So then you leave your watts peak way of looking at things, and you look at module efficiency. Because you can have a 400 watt 60 cell module, but it's going to have giant cells on it. It's going to be a bigger 60 cell module. So you have to start looking at module efficiency. So so they've got a 50 cell 400 watt module now, because they're using these giant cells. They're third cut. So that's the other piece. So you're changing your cell architecture. You're changing the way your module is laid out. You're going to see bigger cells. You're going to see more half cut or third cut, or even sliver cells like the Solevo, the shingled cells. You will start seeing that, which is going to change the module footprint. We got so close to standardizing for 60 cell and 72 cell, but now it's just being blown out of the water. Other things that are going to happen, bifacial. I mean, bifacial is going to be all over the place. Pretty much the whole utility scale market is going to be is bifacial right now. You pretty much can't sell a monofacial module into that. Glass, frameless, things like that, changing a little bit. Glad those have been around for a while. We may start seeing more glass. Good part about glass is that it is even more reliable than a glass backsheet. So you can start, if the industry speaks with their wallets and says we need longer lifetimes, you'll probably see something moving more to glass.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm not sure. I just don't.
There's a lot of possibilities, and I think the main point is from you. The lesson I'm taking is that there's not a lot of improvements that can be made in terms of what you can capture per square foot. The existing technology has proven itself and should last quite a long time. But I think you want to pick the right company like REC and others that you can trust, but that stand behind their warranty and have the fewest warranty. And I think you've even told me the best thing is a warranty that you don't use, right? So,
yeah, we're very happy with the way the warranty is. Our claim rate is just amazing, and it's very low. But as I mentioned before, the best warranty out there is one that you don't have to use. And that's what we're here at REC. We're seeing about 50 claims per million modules. So that's I'll do the math. It's about one module for every 5 megawatts.
That's extremely low, and we appreciate it. We, as a contractor, with our customers, try to use the best that we can at the time that's available. And I think right now REC is the best. And again, we appreciate your time. And for our audience, we like to ask question number 10 is, as we hunker down, can you leave us with a favorite quote for these times, or maybe some advice?
So that's an interesting piece. There's I got two things I want to say. And one, is, right now, don't follow the herd. Do have your own opinion, make your own decisions based on data, on information, not rhetoric. Don't, find out what's really going on. Don't assume. So that's really the key. And I just see so much of that going on. You see so much just, progenited over social media.
Right.
Or that's, as, Public Enemy said, Chuck D, don't believe the hype,
Right.
go grab your own stuff.
Right.
But, with the home care stuff, I think, just enjoying the time that you have together. My wife just suggested puzzles make the time go by really fast. that's
Right.
that's
Wow.
what we do at our house. But no, everyone just needs to take care out there. We're going to get through this, and looking forward to seeing everyone on the other side of it.
Absolutely. Well, we'll look forward to attending some of your trainings and getting to see you and the team at REC here soon. Maybe we could get tapped on the shoulder by one of those robots over there. That'd be pretty awesome for us.
Always welcome to come over to Singapore for a tour. Anytime you're in that part of the world, give me a call. I'll get you into the factory.
We'll make the excuse. We need a break. We need a vacation from the staycation.
Yes.
So everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming on the show, George McCullen. And remember, the revolution is here. Join us, like, comment, and share. And we will see you next time. Thanks again, George.
Sounds good. I'm talking with you.
All righty. Bye.